Welcome to an enlightening journey. This educational content offers challenging insights. Approach with an open mind. The link for the study guide can be found in the description. Subscribe to join the exploration. Let's dive in without wasting time. Showing up, the power of consistency in achieving success. Introduction. There are three primary explanations for the power of showing up. 1. Compound interest is always working in your favor. 2. Low opportunity costs enable exploration of highly skewed risky payoffs. 3. Activities that require repeated practice are much easier to accomplish if you simply show up and do them. Before diving into the first reasoning for a consistent schedule, another expected benefit of showing up would have to include is that you must be present to win. For example, in academic research, without continuous and controlled experiments, one is much less likely to stumble upon that great result. Missing a large window of opportunity also demonstrates the dangers of high opportunity cost, an important drawback of sticking with one thing and simply showing up. As is the nature of the second attribute, lower opportunity costs can go a long way in creating opportunities for the future. How do you get to the top? The most successful and accomplished people don't always ace academic tests or hit it out of the park with each project, but they do always make an effort to do something. The secret to getting ahead is showing up. The benefits of showing up are not limited to career success. Other areas benefited by continuous activity include health, hobbies, and relationships. Even shoring up finances using simple tools such as automatic deposits into a 401k account are early steps in setting up systems, allowing you to consistently show up and keep plugging away. This kind of stick-to-itiveness, made popular in the last few years by Angela Duckworth's widely referenced TED Talk and book Grit, is an entirely rational strategy, but is also a key component of the life of a successful overachiever. It's kind of like building a house. To save 3 months, you don't just add another 9,000 hands. You add exponentially more value to each moment and brick. Consistency makes our success predictable. We're not just paying another bricklayer, we are creating in the moment. Another study in cognitive psychology found that interleaving, or practicing multiple skills in each training session, has the potential to instigate long-term retention. Every sports team champions the concept of practice makes perfect. By training consistently, with a connection and purpose, teams yield rewarding results. Forming a connection with daily tasks allows tasks to build upon one another. This system allows for continued progress and propels individuals hugely forward. Sports teams practice to improve, not sustain their current level of skill. When individuals understand the importance of practicing daily, as a means of striving toward continuous progress, the power of consistency can be seen. In psychology, this principle is known as Parkinson's law, which states that work will expand to fill the time we set aside to accomplish an activity. In other words, allowing for flexibility in project completion dates could ultimately prolong the time it takes to complete the same task. According to Parkinson, work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. This theory has implications for those who consistently struggle to complete large projects. Could it be that we are approaching our tasks the wrong way? Is inconsistency confounding our ability to move forward? A concept in economics, diminishing marginal returns, describes the decrease of satisfaction or value gained from a good or service. This applies to productivity. When we work on something every single day, our brains begin to perceive bigger returns each day. Hunting for that novel idea, connection, or piece of forward motion can be seen as the reward after the hardship of work. Over time, this strengthens our ability to focus and climb over tasks that are more challenging. The biggest obstacle really does end up being the first step forward. Research demonstrates the power of consistency. A 2012 study found that the difficulty of a task begins to skew the perception of time spent on an activity. Although the participants accurately guessed the time spent on the task at the beginning, The inaccuracy rose as the task became harder. Sound familiar? I can attest that when meetings were held daily, it was really easy to lose sight of my big why. The days blurred together, and I found myself going through the motions without actually progressing. The importance of consistency is often overlooked. It doesn't really seem to matter how productive you are. Consistency allows us to build upon the work of the day before. Whether you are trying to lose weight, improve your relationships, or write a book, consistency is key. Understanding the importance of consistency, it's surprising that most people never give the concept much thought. Proof of this is the fact that Social Science Research Network reports in their study that about half of all new businesses will fail within 5 years. And the conservative Wall Street Journal reports that about 75% of venture-backed startups fail. It is not that people seek out coaching to help them to perform worse in their chosen endeavor than how they were performing before they got the coaching. So why are some people thriving financially and running profitable businesses while others continue to flounder and mostly run unprofitable businesses? The answer to this and other related questions is to be found in this book. Who should read this book? In general, this book is meant for anyone who desires to be successful in anything. Its entire purpose is to help you reach the pinnacle of success, whatever that may be for you. In particular, but not exclusively, this book is meant for entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs. It was written specifically for people who want to be successful as entrepreneurs but have been struggling to break free from the trap of the self-sabotaging behavior that is the root cause of their consistent lack of success. They want to win, but rather than play to win, they play not to lose. Playing not to lose is the unacknowledged root cause of most of the challenges that entrepreneurs face, as we are going to see throughout this book. Chapter 1. Understanding consistency. Consistency is defined as severity or reaction or treatment by the Oxford Dictionary and as steadfast adherence to the same principles, course, form, etc., firmness or resolution, as in conduct. Uniformity by Webster's. Both dictionaries suggest that consistency involves a continuation or persistent, intentionally unchanged action based on an established course or framework that does not falter. Although the definition does not suggest resistance against challenges to the course or framework that form the established action, consistency under Graham's technique also requires participants to set and adhere to a charted course of training that includes problem solving within one's individual body capabilities. This is the meaning of the word as used in the case study. Graham was able to maintain persistence in her method by keeping to a clear framework of physical, intellectual, and professional guidelines, which aided her toward an attainable long-term vision while also being adaptable to various short-term solutions. This is what is referred to as a principle of maintaining consistency. Graham's modern dance technique has influenced the contemporary dance world and has also garnered interest from actors, artists, and public figures looking for healthier ways to approach body movement. Most of her career was during a time when the U.S. was still predominantly focused on traditional roles for women, such as marriage and family. So how did a woman with a career that required hours of dedicated physical training and a professional schedule of performance and travel maintain consistent success while others found it hard to? The answer lies in the lead through case study research into the initial principle of her technique, consistency. Martha Graham's exceptional career as a dancer, choreographer, and dance teacher for nearly 70 years coincided with and often surpassed the careers of better-known male contemporaries. She is responsible for influencing significant contributions to the arts. Graham was at the peak of her career as a dancer in the 1930s, and from the 40s through the 70s had similarly successful careers as a choreographer and teacher. Her contributions to the arts are so renowned that she received top honors in her field, including recognition as the Dancer of the Century by Time magazine and the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Consistency provides a number of vital benefits in business and life. But the primary power of consistency is its ability to create momentum, which propels you forward. Actions are magnetic. When you are consistent, you become a force to be reckoned with. Your movement is steady, continuous, and predictable, and it's difficult to ignore. It forces you and your fellow humans to take notice, see, hear, feel, and experience it. This predictability invites stability and structure, allowing outside forces to trust and respect your rhythm. It allows people to anticipate it, to find it when they need it, and to work around it. It's similar to a brand that has grown up in the same neighborhood for years. People know when it opens, when it closes, its look and feel, the quality of its products, and even the routes customers take to get there. Consistency means to agree in or accord with, and is derived from the Latin root consister, to stand firm. The Oxford English Dictionary defines it as steadfast adherence to the same principles, course, form, etc. Merriam-Webster provides an additional yet similar definition: harmony of conduct or practice with profession. It's not merely doing something once and hoping it works. It's about being unrelenting in your drive to do something and let the chips fall where they may. In terms of leadership, consistency inspires people to trust, follow you, and buy into your vision for the company or team. As former Great Britain Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher said, one of the attributes of a good leader is consistency. Ubiquity is a measure of consistency. Goals or self-improvement generally are not universally honored, but the desire for the goals is widely shared. The person who goes to the gym for an hour twice a week and does not eat high fructose corn syrup is not considered more impressive than the person who works 40 hours each week and sees friends and family. To more consistently act upon one's own goals, there are essentially two long-term steps one can take. They can reduce the total number of goals, or they can make each of the goals less ambitious. Eliminating goals, however, may result in less fulfillment or potential, while reducing their own ambition would increase the non-cognitive value at the expense of diminishing a person's personal drive. When it comes to consistency in areas such as nutrition, sleep, respectfulness, kindness, empathy, and overall health, we refer to those factors as moral purity. Non-cognitive factors that do not require moral judgments. People may seek to improve their diets or get regular sleep because they know they offer great health benefits, not necessarily to bring about social good. In contrast, helping those in need continuously over time may result in good for many people, but from a non-cognitive sense, it remains morally pure regardless of the magnitude or length of the commitment. Patients might receive better medical care if malintent leads to prolonged abuse, and their physicians might argue that they have a personal moral duty to maintain their own health. However, the real moral duty maintained by the patient's effort to regain health isolates the concept of moral purity. Treating moral purity as a disconnection from social purpose is what makes it non-cognitive. There is no moral judgment involved in arguing for regular exercise, but it's the intensity and duration of one's physical ability or overall health that allows that person to help a larger number of others in any way that results in social good. Those judgments would indeed be moral and draw on their utilitarian dimensions as person after person is assisted over time. Chapter 2. The Mindset of Consistency. Consider it this way. Every action you take is part of a process. It is the continuation of that process that gives you an advantage. The more often and the longer you do something, the likelier you appear. By contrast, anything worth seeking is accompanied by barriers of some sort. Resource constraints, competing interests, and inconvenience represent the structural, psychological, and political obstacles you will face. Tellingly, Quora users acknowledge headspace just as much as they do the physical acts that make up this life or death barrier. Attitudes are just as consequential. Of course, the question is, just how do you show up so often if these boundaries exist? Cluster made a big decision when he calculated that these processes led to his disruptive success. When it's tempting to put things off, make excuses, or let down those who depend on you, consistent action gets you closer to your goal, no matter what there ends up being at the finish line. Something will be there, and you will achieve more than you ever expected if you choose to meet your objectives over and over again. If you doubt the veracity of this concept, I dare you to show me an accomplished person whose achievements are arbitrary. This isn't a mountain that turned into a molehill or anything of any sort of supernatural prowess. These are demonstrated, consistent actions you and your organization can adopt to see real climactic change in your world. According to psychologists Carol Dweck, social psychologist Claude Steele, and their colleagues, most people can reach the outlook that will greatly benefit them from engaging and reinforcing. This growth mindset is the kind of belief system that fosters decision-making options by acknowledging challenges and learning from failure with determination for building mental and learning strength. Everyone's intellect and ability is a platform in need of enthusiastic drive, guidance, discipline, and commitment, so all should be aware that compassion, inclinations can set the stage for success. A fixed mindset, on the other hand, inhibits academic success by exploiting the illusion of suddenly having all abilities in life and acting alike. Success and high grades are the maximum venues of learning, and challenging tasks are threats to one's intelligence and ability. Fixed-minded individuals who endeavor likely to fight when talents are inadequate are also encouraged to cheat to achieve a more natural result, foreseeable behavior of characteristics of fixed mindsets. A productive learning and working environment is reinforced through cognitive frontiers by the development of growth mindsets, belief that innate abilities such as intelligence and talent can be nurtured through hard work and perseverance, as opposed to unfixed mindsets that believe talent is exclusive and can result in premature cessation of learning and optimized performance without exerting effort. Relationships between growth mindsets and academic performances are found through dynamic academic success and improved cognitive skills that thrive on challenge seeking. Growth mindsets have profound impacts on students' perceptions of pursuing their passion and getting better at things they believe in. Through persistence, effortful learning, and how much students sought challenges, students develop their mindsets about their ability and the nature of academic assignments. Goals related to achievement are intertwined with mindsets, resulting in these students to outperform beyond peers of an unfixed mindset. Positive mindsets lead to optimistic attributions about challenging practice and more enthusiastic attitudes, which, fueled by social and academic aspects, result in higher grades/test scores than students influenced by negativistic mindsets. There is a sentence saying that what you do every day is your life. A sentence that is very absorbed by the concept of tiny habit, what you do every day. If people see your success, pay attention to face it. The long, bumpy, dark, and many times very emotional journey that turns out to be a continuity series that has no end. The goal is first to incorporate discipline into your system, and in a longer time frame, you will get the results that other people will be jealous of. It turns out that this little by little that has a large influence and should be a lifestyle that we adopt. Because let's face it, one by one, not everything can be finished in one shot. If that's all, no one will fall down. People only need to use one magic spell in their daily life. The future movement does not lie in the large steps, but the small steps of continuity. That is the essence of the power of consistency in life. Taking specific steps consistently each day will eventually give a compound effect on any single step you take. Just imagine, let's say you do push-ups on a regular basis for several months. Every day you just add one push-up repetition, increased by very minimal reps. Then by the end of the year, you have been able to do 365 push-ups without stopping. Even though in the first month you are only doing about 30 push-ups, the same thing happens in all aspects of life. Many times, doing the same menial tasks every day is the thing that determines whether we will succeed or not. If you can plant a tree for 10 years, by chance you could harvest it for a few hundred years. Or maybe in life, we have the opportunity to complete a job that is worth a few hundred years in 10 years. Lately, there is a quote that has been pretty famous. Show me an overnight success and I'll show you a 10-year struggle. The quote sure is nothing new too. If you have been in the entrepreneurship world for quite some time, or for people who have been in the world of success stories of other kinds. They already know that the path to success is often not as short as people imagined. People are self-aware, purpose-driven, creative humans. So why are they waiting for motivation to come to them instead of aggressively tackling it at the source with the help of their intrinsic strengths? Motivation's gap is real, but some of it we can overcome ourselves. The decline of motivation is an issue. I am not offering solutions, I am offering changes. The world does not need another self-help book or blog post. The only thing constant is change. We must learn to thrive in the ever-changing world of possibilities and keep grinding no matter what happens. While the pursuit of maintaining motivation might seem like an individual affliction, motivation's steady departure from us is symptomatic of a wider modern sociocultural decline. Some of the solutions are personal, deep within oneself. If people make the best of themselves, the results will reciprocate and solve so much of the blame that people assign to their elusive motivation. Shaping favorable cultural environments that foster happiness and satisfaction, forming communities which prioritize self-fulfillment can only be beneficial for our collective well-being. That should be the ultimate goal. Many people allow others to define their sense of self-worth or depend on their goals, dreams, and purpose to provide the motivation to get up in the morning. This is an issue because it internalizes the value of that self-worth in others, and the other issues with that dreaming a dream didn't account for somebody falling asleep on the chase. Dreams make goals. Goals require action. Action requires motivation, and the issue with motivation is it goes away. People need to redefine the perspective, and instead of allowing others to be the reasons we wake up in the morning, we must take responsibility for our own self-worth. Owning our lives means recharging our motivation through relentless innovation, self-awareness, and personal accountability. Within an absence of optimistic motivation, people can accidentally find themselves drifting deeper into the quicksand of daily life, where they will never achieve their dreams. Chapter 3. Building Consistent Habits. One such powerful habit is daily writing. Starting in 2013, I have written something every day. These essays started as simple reflections on my projects and lessons learned as I became a better writer. By showing up every day, they became a habit and a skill that allowed me to write the Energy Bus Field Guide and create content every day. Every day spent showing up and practicing this skill built a little bit of the writing muscle around which my future success was built. Showing up to write daily, even though the developments are unseen, unlocks unimagined futures in reality. Success is the result of done over time. Lasting success is the result of consistent habits, not a revelation. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither are healthy, lasting habits. The most rapid strides are made when I make a little improvement each day. We often obsess over our big goal, but it is the everyday skills and habits leading to that goal which are the true generators of success. We too often quit because we don't see big changes overnight. To be successful requires patience with the process of making small improvements each day. Like tracking miles on a manual treadmill, you don't recognize the progress until the end, but you'll never get there if you don't keep stepping. After you have determined your goals, make sure that the path you take in pursuit of these goals is in harmony with your values. Otherwise, the cost may exceed the benefit. Since my daughter Isabel was little, I have always told her that life really isn't fair. You will have to work very hard for what you want, but if you are consistent in your efforts, you will get there. Grammy-winning crooner Sam Smith may have a little more melodious way of conveying the message when he sings. If you're not ready to go home, can I get a hell no? 'Cause we're going to go all night, till we see the sunlight. Regardless of how you hear or sing the message, the motivational truth is that you need to show up to make your dreams come true. Once you have your ideal life laid out on paper, you need to create a strategic plan to turn your dreams into reality. First and foremost, start with a list of goals that will lead you to your ideal life. In the book Beyond Success by Randy Nelson, the author shares a profound concept that success is not one size fits all. He encourages us to create objects of affection for ourselves and not just strive for things to show off. As a result, many of our goals may be unique and very personal to us. Therefore, we can work on what matters to us and not be constrained by what others may objectively value. For example, the pursuit of a modest home or a means of travel unique to you may make you happier and more fulfilled than the latest social media-worthy experience. It is through exposure to the many benefits of routine, a deliberate choice to reverence routine shapes a person. Achieving peace becomes easier each morning you rise at the same time, say a prayer, and complete morning devotion. Anything from fitness and health to relationships can be impacted by an intentional approach to unity. Embracing routine fosters the spirit of adaptation. Life is filled with change. Each sunrise brings a chance for a new story. An individual with few consistent routines acquires a much harder journey adapting to life's abrupt transpositions. War does not host chaos to birth an equilibrium. It delivers violence to overturn it. A steady routine that associates daily order to our lives provides a horizontal straitjacket amidst the convolution of life. Many yearn for the living of a regulated life. I challenge you to simply begin. To gain control of your life, you will train yourself to love routine. Humans have more in common with machines than we would like to admit. We require fixed maintenance, a regular supply of energy, and reliable output. Like machines, we are more efficient when our operation is automated. Freeing our minds from the hundreds of trivial decisions necessitated every day creates space to sequence together habits that bring about a well-operating, happy, and successful human. Training to love the routine amounts more to the exercise of creating orders and rituals than it does developing an affection. A course drills for endless hours repeating movements until they feel reflexive. Once learned, the soldiers receive no gratification from withstanding the misery. Society trains us like the Marine Corps to outfit a regiment of Huxley's brave New World Deltas who accomplish their jobs in shuffle. There is a coupling in our culture between going with the flow and living meaningfully. It is easy to follow the path of least resistance and have the years slip by unnoticed. Too often people, me included at times, look back on time and see little progress. Going with the flow differs from mindless drifting, but by only a slight nuance. Whether you charge head first without a plan or drift gently forward, both paths lead towards an accidental life. Acting intentionally along a planned path changes the route. If destiny means anything, then one who acts with intention should avoid it. By leveraging both the power of a decision and creating a daily routine, separating yourself from the flow becomes effortless. What stops us from great? What keeps us going down the path of a series of not-so-great habits you'll feel the impact of? The insight behind these questions comes to light when you think about just how effective this set of practices humans demonstrate in demonstrating behaviors. Solutions are found on two fronts: define what a desired habit looks like, and reveal that the driving factors for successful growth are desire, choice, and craving. Researchers have concluded that Aristotle was correct when he suggested, "We are what we repeatedly do." It's then that we entered an age with design in mind, with the ability to build the necessary tools to replace guesswork with foresight. And that's some of what we'll delve into next: tools and tactics and explanations on the best of habits to make around business, intended to replace any less desired behavior. So we've talked about what essentially makes a good habit and how habits are, quite often, the route to sustaining success. We've also talked about sustaining it, that overused but real part called consistency. This chapter, Breaking Bad Habits, however, is designed not just to be another chapter literally designed to slam bad habits and shame the people practicing them, but to serve as a dialogue in what it takes to instead practice good habits and be on the road to greatness in business. One of the common threads throughout studies is the idea that excellence is a product of the habits we cultivate. What I also like about this thread, humanity doesn't forget good habits. So once we start implementing great business practices, they'll stick around. These studies propose that the determination of what is easy, and hence hooks us, is subjective, and it's not until the act of accomplishment that we find the behavior that provided the satisfaction, landed equally in despair. It's that good old idea of standard operating conditions where we perform in any direction, but always in the same predetermined lane. Whether we label the practice or not, we've all been there before. Chapter 4. The Power of Discipline. Our lives weave a future based on our discipline. Without dedication, we will achieve nothing. Without commitment, there will be no change, and without persistence, no goal will be reached. Self-discipline paints a distinctive picture of the road we take. We honor our abilities to overcome our desires and weaknesses. We respect our destiny and purpose. We celebrate the struggle, the errors, and the discomfort we feel. Discipline has benefited us greatly in terms of our growth. Our successes have become more plentiful in every aspect of our lives and even more meaningful. When discipline becomes our way of life, we recognize that we are the center of positive energy and advancement in our life journey. With the choice to live with discipline, we are prepared to witness the miracle of life. Once we understand the power of the humble act of showing up, consistency takes on a life of its own. Showing up changes how we interact with the world, especially when it comes to learning and skill building. This leads to the next element of the foundation of success that is imbued in the act of showing up: discipline. Discipline is loving yourself. It is doing the things you are good at, so you can do the things you are great at, so you can do the things you are amazing at. Discipline is freedom. It is a system of health. It is the freedom of capability. It is self-respect. It is dignity. It allows you to stay true to your true potential, to be kind to yourself and those around you. Discipline is you yourself creating the space in which you want to live your life in. Discipline is grounded. It is the ritual of building. According to research published in the 2005 Journal of Business and Management, self-efficacy is one of the greatest positive psychological qualities that is related to success in personal development, business, and sales, among others. The question you must ask is, how can I develop a high self-efficacy? Robert Collier suggests that instead of focusing too much on trying to be happy, people must do things that they know are important to increase self-discipline and self-efficacy. This is like thinking of a simple task that goes beyond what is important to the purpose for 5 minutes, and then moving on to another 5 minutes as a muscle-building exercise in the circus. Robert Collier further advised that people must reject their willpower and focus on self-efficacy every day for a week. After 7 days, the willpower may be increased and a habit of self-discipline could be developed. In order for consistency to deliver the maximal benefits, it needs rigid self-discipline, the thing that many people cringe at once they encounter the word. However, understanding self-discipline is crucial for consistent success. The Latin meaning of the term discipline is to teach, and self-discipline is about teaching yourself to be purposeful to your chosen course of action in spite of adversity. It is the ability to ignore weakness and develop a behavior pattern that enables you to overcome emotional and destructive behavior. It means that you have a goal and you are willing to do everything to accomplish such goals. You know that you might fall off, and you will fall off, but you are willing to keep going, and the only thing that you need is the training of your mind. Prioritize consistency. Consistency is a core part of discipline. Once you have overcome feelings of demoralization, ensure that your psychological and emotional setbacks are not your all or nothing. Consistency becomes more important than a major change of the system, and that you continue to show up. Strategies for setting targets and deadlines, rewards and deadlines, visible results, and an influx of devotion to delve deeper have their limits. You still have to do the work on a regular basis. As we have seen with many other resources, people are willing to accept long-term disadvantages in return for short-term advantages. Set up your reflexive self to accommodate your reflective self. Use reminders, structure, or systems that will help you get going when you encounter that lack of motivation or the initial friction that might make the task seem larger than it is. It is likely that your reflexive self, which operates despite the obstacles of everyday inertia, will tend to favor pleasure and immediacy. Your reflective self can help it to adopt system-like approaches. It might have been you in the past who put those reminders or structures in place when you were full of verve for the cunning machinations that could keep you on track. Go back and do that help to yourself now. In order to prioritize consistency, it is crucial to establish a solid foundation that supports your efforts. This entails developing a proactive mindset and employing various tactics to boost and maintain your motivation. One effective approach is to create a system of reminders, structures, or routines that cater to both your reflexive and reflective selves. By doing so, you can counteract any instances of low enthusiasm or initial resistance that may magnify the perceived difficulty of the task at hand. Recognize that your reflexive self tends to prioritize immediate pleasure and instant gratification, while your reflective self can guide it towards adopting a more systematic approach. Reflect on the past when you were brimming with energy and excitement for the clever strategies that could keep you on track. It was likely you who implemented those reminders and structures back then, recognizing their value in maintaining your focus and dedication. Now it is time to revisit those methods and offer the same support and guidance to your present self. Allow your past wisdom to assist you in conquering any current barriers to productivity or motivation. Moreover, it is important to understand that consistency should take precedence over radical, sweeping changes to your system. While strategies such as setting specific targets, establishing deadlines, implementing rewarding mechanisms, tracking visible progress, and cultivating a deep sense of commitment have their merits, they can only go so far. Ultimately, the key lies in actively engaging in the work on a regular basis. As demonstrated by numerous examples, individuals often choose to endure long-term disadvantages in exchange for short-term gains. Therefore, it is crucial to push through any demoralizing feelings and avoid falling into the trap of an all-or-nothing mindset. Consistency should be the driving force that propels your progress forward, even when faced with setbacks or emotional hurdles. By prioritizing consistency and adopting a proactive mindset, you can establish a solid foundation for discipline. Combine this with the support of reminders, structured systems, and past wisdom, and you will be well equipped to overcome any obstacles that come your way. Stay committed, remain focused, and embrace the power of consistency as you strive for excellence in your endeavors. Chapter 5. Overcoming Procrastination. Boredom. Consistent effort involves doing something repeatedly, which might mean doing the same thing day in and day out. We are creatures of habit, and too often, we want to change where we are, but we aren't willing to change what we do. It's important to embrace change and continuously pursue improvement because it's not the repetition itself that causes challenges. What causes problems is the lack of recognition of growth and progress within the repetition, so it feels boring and stagnant. Shaving my head every morning has been part of my brand from the beginning. Finding a different way to make it engaging each time is about understanding where growth is present and looking for new ways it can be pulled from existing habits. Overcoming procrastination. We have all experienced the frustration of wanting to avoid a task, and yet when we actually do it, the task usually isn't as bad as we thought it would be. Additionally, it's the lack of perfectionism and the willingness to make mistakes that gets accomplishments moving. Perfectionism ties us up in not only needing to always get an A+, but also needing to invent an automatic A+ machine for the future to ensure perfection forever. Let go. Get an A. It'll be good enough. Then make a new list today, because something new will come up tomorrow that you haven't thought of today. In their review, Mannheim et al. 2016 summarize most of this literature and direct future research to a number of areas, which include individual-level causality of procrastination, investigation of the correlation between procrastination and an individual's productivity at work, the relationship between procrastination and the use of specific tools and technological devices, the relationship between procrastination and the use of modern business strategies, and finally, the importance of external settings such as financial, social, and economic factors that could have a significant role in promoting procrastinatory behavior, or, alternatively, Contrast with an individual's or a firm's willingness to exhibit time-controlled behavior. We provide a definition for a firm's procrastination as behavior that decreases an individual's and slash or a firm's utility, and that an individual or a firm would like to stop, but is unable to because of lack of willpower, lack of self-control, failure to maintain pre-commitment strategies, and slash or other circularity patterns that cause delays in the termination of suboptimal behaviors. Shortly, procrastination occurs when an individual or a firm does not observe ex-ante accurate decisions, which eventually cause inefficiency because individuals or firms do not react on time and do not adjust their plans in light of observed signals. This definition is related to the one advanced by Rubinstein, 2003, and O'Donoghue and Ravin, 1999. But what sets our definition apart is that we exclusively focus on events that are related to the business environment, and we attempt to gauge their consequences on a firm's functionality. The issue of procrastination is particularly important in the current climate of veneration for entrepreneurial success. And yet, the investigation of this phenomenon is still hampered by the problematic aspects of measuring it. As a consequence, the investigation has identified many theoretical routes that could fuel our understanding of this phenomenon, but it has failed to illustrate both that procrastination exists and the conditions under which it could occur. For such reasons, the present research aimed at identifying procrastination causes and effects and formulating general implications for firms' functioning. Adopting a meso perspective allows understanding the problem of procrastination, as well as the problem of achieving timely behaviors, as the result of firms, the contextual conditions in which they are embedded, and the effects that firms have on the context, which made it necessary to develop an economy-oriented definition of procrastination. Now, the techniques. Believe it or not, a technique for overcoming procrastination is as simple as getting started immediately and forcing oneself to be in the moment. By that, I mean avoiding any action that removes your mind from the task at hand. This means paying full attention to what you are doing at any point in time and not engaging in thoughts of the future, especially thoughts of escaping from taking the necessary actions. Ditch any thoughts that make you worry about other things that need to be done, as worrying often leads to avoidance or procrastination. Another technique to beat procrastination is that of breaking down the task at hand to actual steps required to achieve the task. Set a deadline for each step, then ensure that you start working on it immediately. After some time, move to the next step and repeat the process until all steps are completed. With this approach, the most important thing to do is ensure that you complete each step on time. Shortly, you will come to realize that you have completed the task without feeling like you have worked too hard. Achieving all that you want in life requires consistent action over the long term. The challenge for many people is finding the motivation to take action consistently. Procrastination or deferring actions to a later time is a common problem that many find hard to get over. However, successful individuals have developed methods and techniques for overcoming this psychological barrier to achieve success. In this section, we will consider these techniques and find the one that works best for you. It is important to remember that the most effective technique would vary from person to person. As such, this section offers several alternative approaches that you could try to determine the most effective one. So ultimately, the techniques presented here would not help you with overcoming procrastination until you decide to act upon it. Consistency in action is a key principle that must be adopted to crush procrastination. Chapter 6. Consistency in relationships. In an office, when one person is the king of calm consistency and another is the queen of mood swings, mutual respect and trust are impossible. If your employees are unable to predict your reactions and objectives, they can't rely on your leadership. If they can't rely on your stewardship, they can't trust in your vision. And without trust, a leader's influence is minimal. Not only is consistency a business matter, it's also a moral issue. Close personal relationships are messy. Team relationships are orderly by comparison. Those you have hired or are parenting look to you to understand what is expected of them, to know what to expect from you, and to understand what to expect from their fellow employees or family members. Consistency creates authenticity. Authenticity creates trust. We do business with those companies we know, like, and believe. We do business with companies that earn our trust. Consistency conveys trust. In relationships, if one person in a couple is inconsistent in mind and action, the other person doesn't know what to expect. If one day she is sweet and loving and the next day impossible to please, he won't be able to trust her. When the offense doesn't fit the penalty, when I was expecting that, becomes I couldn't possibly have anticipated that. We have a breach of trust. Even if the individual believes that she loves him, she can't guarantee that her love will be of benefit to him. In like measure, if he is sweet one day and dismissive the next, he is being inconsistent and may well be an untrustworthy partner. Thankful for a group of parents who place their child's needs before their own enjoyment. You can begin working on building a trusting relationship when you show up at the events and engage in seemingly unimportant chit-chat. Whether we realize it or not, we're building lasting relationships. These relationships have an impressive potential to be of substantive value, and not having them could create problems for a company. It's easy to talk to people at work, but unless primary relationships are in place and there is genuine and conversational trust, it's grueling to get work done. There are studies that show that a lack of primary relationships and the failure of high school faculty to collaborate in an effort to support student needs is largely responsible for the high percentage of students that drop out. My daughter had friends at multiple schools, and this worked because of the quality of the relationships that I invested in and maintained with staff. There is a difference between clapping for your child and watching your child as they perform and subsequently offering a critique that may suggest for them to go back and work on it. What a powerful way to say, I love you and believe in you. Show me you care. Being there to witness the grueling practices, the fight to get the routine out, the new skills attempted, and even more when the gym shut up rooted against, and you played not a single part in the making of the routine or sharpening the skills, yet there is a pitch forward or a step backwards that could rather easily have been avoided had you shown up. I think about all the years that coaches have told me as an athlete how important consistency is. But the irony in consistency and respect is that consistency is respect. Your ability to be consistent in anything you are trying to accomplish, whether for business or personal endeavors, will directly influence a similar proportion of respect in addition to reaping anticipated or unexpected dividends. As an L4 and L5 All-Star cheer mom for 11 years as of yesterday. Time is going to pass anyway, so why not align yourself with others, aiming at success by showing up for them over time? I have seen this principle work throughout my career. I have sustained every major client that I have because I have figured out at the beginning of my business that I had to continue to put solutions around them. Therefore, products are not necessarily what you are delivering. You are delivering time, attention, and consistent results. We say that relationships are built through touch and visibility. When we move them through a sales funnel, we refer to it as touch points. It doesn't matter if we are talking about it from the marketing plan or business development. We touch each other while we are walking through business and relationships, showing up over time until the consistency produces the results. Touches are remembered, and later they tally, reminding those we targeted, planted seeds, and reminded about who we are, that we care about them and are there to help them. In the end, you are able to move them to a point of trust and willingness to engage with you. Nurturing relationships over time is a surefire way to stay in business and succeed. It's about staying in each other's minds and positioning people over time to receive from you. The strategy of becoming visible to those you want to pull toward you at the point they need you is consistent with principles of success that have worked for me over time. This takes me back to the little extracts from the first part of my book when I first started this journey. In the beginning, I needed visibility around the people I was targeting. Looking back, a lot of them had no idea of what I did. Fast forward to 28 years later, I have built a successful business, primarily because I was able to show up through consistent visibility around the targets. Chapter 7. Consistency in Career Success. Your career will not be consistent if you are not often present, contributing to the discussion. Show your skills when you participate. There is a reason you were hired, promoted, or assigned a particular role. Use every part of who you are to have influence in all situations. Sometimes, trust your decision and let your voice be heard. You were hired or promoted for a reason, and your voice is as important as others in driving the organization's success. Before and after you speak, listen. There are many ways to communicate effectively, and listening is one of the most important things you can do to communicate effectively and make your move consistently. No matter what type of job you have, consistency can help you be successful. This can involve consistently delivering quality work, meeting goals, or helping your company achieve its mission. Your level of success may not be immediate, but through continued hard work, consistency, and regular efficiency, it is both celebrated and rewarded. This is important whether you are competing in an organization and are recognized for your great work or an entrepreneur with a relative quality that keeps driving in a slowly crowded market. Hard work with integrity can only be delayed but never be denied. No matter who you are or in your organization, people are more likely to count on consistent employees who consistently meet their objectives. Keep it up and write it down for others to note and acknowledge. Even though at times we fail to accomplish certain goals at the end of the day, setting clear goals will help us to achieve a considerable amount of our tasks. The behavior of showing up depends upon structured plans, not a heart full of dreams. Having clear goals and standards increases our self-confidence, drives us to show up for tasks we dislike, and requires less willpower to complete our work. A structured day and tight deadlines will increase commitment towards our work, and as a result, we are able to show up with energy and enthusiasm. Accomplishing our goals also gives us a big morale boost. It increases our self-esteem, and we end up doing a lot more work. To become consistency champions, we must be committed to showing up whatever the situation. To achieve this, setting clear goals and standards for everything we do, right from the time we get up in the morning to the time we switch off the light to go to bed, is very critical. Our personal productivity and the quality of work we do are influenced by a dozen different things in a day. Setting clear goals helps us accomplish everything we set out to do. If we have a plan in place, we will stick to the activities that will get us closer to our goal, rather than getting off track. Having clear goals prevents us from being sidetracked, driven by passion, emotions, or feelings. We are able to carry out the necessary work in good times as well as bad times. When we have clear goals and standards, we function well under pressure and can keep going even when other people are ready to give up. To further demonstrate our point, let me share with you a Gartner research study. The research showed that the top 2 capabilities required from the finance division in facing digital disruption are business partnering and data and analytics skills. Below these 2 capabilities are organizational stewardship and change leadership. This outcome is consistent with the necessity of teaching professionals the principle that limitations are not permanent but a process to a closing gap. One of the often overlooked skills in technical training is feedback and communication skills. The art of giving people the right insight, the confidence to overcome limitations, and to show learning as a game to enjoy. We work with them to establish a crystal clear goal, an appreciation of the gap, and a laid out plan to make improvements. Why is this form of skills development important? This skill in particular is important because the professionals being coached can grow in the realization that limitations are not permanent. They can, in turn, adopt this frame of mind in anything else that they strive to develop. What better way to create first impressions and form lasting connections than by showing up and getting to know others? Networking is a skill anyone can learn and master. Networking helps build friendships, opens doors to new opportunities and ideas, and helps create positive change and influence. Furthermore, when you surround yourself with like-minded individuals, your dreams and networks are affected. These are the people you will look up to, the individuals you will learn from, and the friends who will shape your thinking and aid your quest for mastery. When you regularly network and form friendships, You were creating opportunities to pay compliments and pick up on and create feedback loops of mutual admiration and respect. When both people involved genuinely want the other to succeed, some incredibly resilient friendships blossom and last for life. Fashion icon Tom Ford once said, "Dressing well is a form of good manners." We believe showing up by networking more often encapsulates this good fashion sense. Therefore, remember to make an extra effort to present yourself in the very best possible light. These first impressions are important, and each initial impression can lead to new opportunities, relationships, or guidance in your pursuit of mastery. How long does it take to form a first impression? Various researchers and psychologists have attempted to answer this question and found that it takes about 100 milliseconds to form a first impression of a person's emotional state and 500 milliseconds to form a first impression of attractiveness. These results alone raise the stakes of making a positive first impression. First impressions are essential whether you are at a job interview, a casual networking event, important social functions, or talking to prospective clients. Chapter 8: Consistency in Health and Wellness. Josh Caron, Baltimore trainer, contributes, "It's not enough to say that you want to change unless you are willing to do what it takes to change. Drive is doing what's necessary to influence change, and that is a choice we all have every day." You could be confident, and you can build your own confidence. It's absolutely your choice. As a business leader, hospitality professional, parent, business owner, or coach, you have the power to influence the behavior and that change in behavior or mindset to attain success. Several of each chapter's guest contributors share their own recommendations for observing consistency in behavior to achieve results. With physical activity and nutrition, it's not as simple as just avoiding the bad things. Children don't learn how to be healthy or unhealthy. They learn habits, how to make choices that dictate their health. Brian Voltaggio, owner of Volt and Family Meal and father of 4 young children, describes the impact of eating healthy at a young age. Kids are like sponges, and if you start them early with foods, especially vegetables, they develop a taste for them that's hard to lose. Although kids should have the freedom to indulge in treats with family and friends, waiting until adulthood to address eating well can make it more difficult for the habit to stick. It isn't easy to change habits entrenched over years, so it's important to establish good habits and choices at an early age and just keep pushing the good stuff until it is non-negotiable. It's impossible to monitor all they eat when away from home, but it's possible to instill healthy habits by consistent example. Similarly, it's easy to serve yourself another serving of broccoli and brown rice or salad in front of your kids and harder in the short term to sit down with some pizza or a burger, but those positive behaviors become habits and mold their behavior. Instead of just making necessary changes like a good adult should, I suddenly found myself lost. Overwhelmed with time on my hands, I began to spend more time watching television and eating more healthy meals. I immediately saw the benefits. No longer tired all the time, living in a cubicle, I slowly started realizing my work and creative output was also improving. Deadlines that seemed impossible were now easily met. At the time, I had observed that healthier living and habits were an instant side effect to unlocking one's true potential and having more and better career opportunities. This is why in the following few suggestions, I will share with you my personal experience, advice, and also gathered information on healthy life habits. In the beginning of my comedy career, I had a day job and would perform comedy at night. Often, I would stay out late after the show at a local late-night food spot, shower at my day job, and spend the day sleeping on the floor in my cubicle. I do not recommend this as a healthy way to live. I was young and had no idea how life worked. That was just how I could pin everything to work everything out. The sleep, the food, the work, and the hope of my career development overlap. However, even though I believed at the time I was moving forward, I was truly just doing a bunch of stuff that made me seem busy. Eventually, it was time to commit to my career 100%, and it is then that I did not become the infamous world-renowned comedian that I am today. When I read Cohen's article on being an SBTB every day of 2018, I was pleased to see him mention exercise as one of his daily habits. I have quoted before Mike Matthews' Cult of the Grandeur, The Power of Consistent, Persistent Obsession, where Matthews talks about how being able to stick with a training and diet plan would, 10 out of 10 times, translate into the ability to stick with a business plan. Eventually, I too want to document in writing my own New Year resolutions, and I promise you, prioritizing exercise habits will be number one on that list. I'm a big believer in the power of exercise habits and routines. Physical fitness can indeed play a significant role in your life and in helping achieve short and long-term goals. In fact, the first thing I'd always ask someone who is trying to get something from me is, what's your physical fitness routine? The last thing I consider when evaluating possible collaborations and partnerships is, in fact, the commitment to personal fitness. Why should you do business with someone who doesn't make themselves a top priority? If you don't do it for yourself, do it for your business and the people who trust and invest in you, as well as your family and friends. I simply don't see any value in someone who isn't committed to a lifestyle that promotes longevity and well-being. So overall, I do not even consider associating myself with these individuals. For anyone reading this, though, if you ever attend a networking event, conference, or meet someone anywhere and are outgoing enough to speak to them, please don't ever ask, "What do you do?" as your first question. Ask them, "What are you passionate about?" Instead of branding, prioritize human questions. It's exhausting always prioritizing the world's projects over personal progress, though it's much more relatable. I too must constantly struggle through this inauthentic practice for survival. Movement towards these behavioral changes is a consistent, significant resource drain that some don't have the privilege of perpetually accessing, lest they face professional and financial troubles. Compromise. If we exchanged ethics for abundance and options, could we really say we ever made an ethically sound decision? At one time, my mental health was in a fragile state. Though I didn't realize it, writing and talking through my issues helped me significantly. Sharing my feelings in a public space obviously isn't sustainable. Now I'm much more private and keep my feelings in a personal journal. My close friends and family have supported my decision to remove my mental/emotional content. I'm now more aware of my biases and cognitive dissonance, despite the rare conflict with others. This accountability loop forces desensitization from personal and public storms. My privacy also respects others' boundaries, curbing codependencies of emotional or intellectual patterns. While my comfort is more balanced, it carries potential social damage and contributes to others feeling alone in their struggles. Therefore, we, especially I, need to normalize mental health conversations and underscore self-awareness, resilience, and self-care. We do this not just to better ourselves, but for our communities. Our individual well-beings, however, come first. Chapter 9. Consistency in personal growth. Pursuing personal growth consistently, then, means committing to look failure in the face but not allowing it to define you. You will not be derailed by the invariable weaknesses and shortcomings that are part and parcel of being human and reaching for excellence. Instead, you will persistently move forward, knowing that all you experience along the way to your goals will enhance the person you are working to become. It also means celebrating the commitment to consistent effort, regardless of the actual results you are seeing. The hard work and dedication needed to step beyond your comfort zone and make an effort toward personal change deserve to be recognized. Showing up to your growth journey every day with an open heart and a disciplined mind is, in and of itself, a mastery that should be celebrated. Those on the path of self-improvement understand the importance of consistency and success. It takes hundreds of repetitions to master a new skill. The self-awareness needed to create sustainable change in thinking, emotions, or behavior often requires years of reflection and deep personal work. Wade Boggs, a professional baseball player who achieved exceptional success throughout his career, once famously said, "A positive thinker is just someone who fails with enthusiasm." This quote from Boggs accurately reflects the experience many of us have had as we pursue ambitious goals. The beginning is often filled with hope and motivation, only to be followed by failure or stagnation. Learning is a daily endeavor for Gopal, President Commissioner of Indonesian PT Bank Central Asia, the country's leading bank. Every day, my brain needs to process a lot of new information from the news, environment, progress, and the many things happening in my line of work, he explains. His insights perpetuate the commitment of world-class performers to grow their wisdom and awareness, whilst improving the quality of work and delivering optimal results. Internalizing this subject matter is indeed strategic due to the rigorous demands placed by increasing complexity and uncertainty. Changes and unprecedented challenges are increasingly becoming the norm in the 21st century. They require a dynamic response for those professionals who wish to achieve excellence and maintain integrity. It's not enough to be omnivorous and curious about new things that we can learn and understand. We must also learn from one another with enthusiasm and an open heart, constant self-improvement, and a curious mind. That's another commitment of high-impact performers. When they advocate continuous education, they're not just referring to formal schooling. Instead, they believe in creating an agile and open-minded cognitive framework in all things. That entails the agility and flexibility to adapt while not losing sight of their principles and beliefs. In short, these people have the vision to see the woods, but do not allow the trees to blind them. Trends always change, and within the mass of followers, the cream will always come out on top. Remember that alcohol is designed for the surface, while oil will always look for the bottom. Therefore, to be consistent, it is important to accept that changes will always come along. But this should not be taken as a threat, but as an opportunity. Consistency in itself works as a defensive tool, but it should be complemented with a disruptive and innovative focus. This paradigm seems to be consistent with the 10,000-hour rule of a particular expertise. Introducing a change in our routine means a new time to attain the same level of mastery. But instead of being negative, it is precisely that time that will give us another element, greater experience in life. Lately, it seems that things do not last as long as they used to. Today's world requires from us more than the average level of previous times, but for that reason, it is also much easier to differentiate our work among others, which means that potential customers could be knocking at our door. It is scary to take that step towards the unknown, but in the entrepreneur's world, it is the common thread of most success stories. While consistency is a critical element in achieving success, embracing change is also important. When things change, sometimes it is easier to do nothing, to keep the same pace, and to live peacefully with what we know. But if we do not adapt, one day suddenly we might wake up without that part of the cake we should have. Chapter 10. Overcoming Setbacks and Failures. 2 years after I retired from the bank, I overexpanded my business and made some financial decisions that exposed me to challenges. My public speaking career took a hit and some investments went south. After the speaking engagement in Indianapolis, my first speaking engagement was 3 years later. It was at a church. The second speaking engagement took place 5 months later. It was a workshop on personal growth and self-discipline. My third engagement took place in Jacksonville, Florida, at an event to support and celebrate entrepreneurs. I signed up with Nido Kubane, the president of High Point University, to mentor me. He told me that he would not mentor me until I joined the National Speakers Association. He was busy and only had time for people who took their profession seriously. Joining the NSA was one of the best personal and professional investments that I made in my life. It was while filling a form to register for a program at the NSA that I received a call from a coach at the NFL asking me to speak to his players. Then, over a period of 61 months, I gave over 212 paid and pro bono speeches. In 2010, I delivered a TEDx talk and had the opportunity to speak on several stages. 2011 was the year that ATI gave me my first international stage. Then the calls began to come in. The number of setbacks and failures that I have experienced would be enough to give an average person an ulcer, if not a heart attack. When I first started speaking professionally, only about 30 people showed up. I was an unknown in men's ministry. The next time I spoke, a friend said he would bring 20 people, and a pastor brought a bus. I began to work and started selling my speaking events. I discovered that the most effective strategy to grow my speaking platform was one event at a time. Each event had to be my best event. I discovered that if my content was good, I would be invited back. If my delivery was even better, I received more speaking inquiries. I discovered that my calling was to inspire, encourage, and empower people to change their mindset, encourage them to believe in themselves, and live a life of impact. It was a challenging period for me. Several people left after they realized that I was not a conventional speaker. At times, I didn't have enough to pay my monthly rent of $275. I slept in my car on several occasions. Retic currently has clients in the US, but none in India. Ram, the CEO of MakeProSimp, is curious to know why, despite their consistent growth, Retic hasn't been able to sign any contracts in India. He also points out that setting up such a facility in India without any customer commitments would lead to a higher magnitude of risk. Eamon admits that they had failed to secure any contracts in India and reasons that Indian clients are very cost-conscious and won't engage a company like Retic, which is fairly expensive. He believes that cost is the only motivation for Indian companies to engage engineering services providers, and he doesn't see how Retic could make its services more cost-effective. Retic is a US-based company providing R&D services. Its revenues were $2.5 million in 2002, and they have over 200 employees. It is interested in setting up operations in India. Amin, co-founder of the company, is optimistic about their ability to leverage their India venture to not only reduce costs, but also to create independence between themselves and their US operations. To start off, about 20 seats are required in Bangalore. Retic is open to exploring various engagement models, and though they prefer to own the venture, they aren't very keen on investing themselves. Resilience is a major component of success. It was the famed basketball player Michael Jordan who epitomized this trait most effectively. He was not the most naturally gifted or the most skillful, but very few could match up to his resilience. His message to the world was very beautifully demonstrated in that famous commercial by Nike. Resilience is used because it is a good metaphor for life. When we fall off the horse, we learn a lot of valuable lessons: how to hang on and remain steadfast, how to tap our potential in overcoming our fears and limitations. But more importantly, we earn the right to be a lifelong learner. Life is full of ups and downs, sunny days and storms, achievements and difficulties. Resilience helps us tide over the down times and the difficulties onto the successes. It is the X factor that has helped many to succeed. I believe that the lessons that I learned and ingrained in me early in life have held me in good stead over the years and played a pivotal role in adding to the success in my life. The two most important lessons or tools that have stood me in great stead in my journey to personal and professional success have been that of consistency and resilience. While I have discussed the importance of consistency in achieving success extensively in this book, I do also want to talk about the importance of resilience here. Despite our best efforts, very few times in life do things go exactly as planned. You are given a job that you are thrilled about, and suddenly you are moved to a different department or project. Your company is taken over by another larger entity. Your sales target is upped. You are transferred to a different city, and so on. Life throws at us curveballs often, and we simply cannot let that defeat us. One has to learn to hang in there while making consistent efforts and building up on one's capabilities. Chapter 11. Sustaining consistency in the long run. Very successful people have often experienced great amounts of failure before finding success. They have caused embarrassment to themselves and others, sometimes concerning matters of small, trivial consequence, like a dress, sometimes concerning huge, bold pursuits, like freedom or gold, simply because many of their attempts haven't panned out. Most people give up after the first try, but consistent people, like the great explorers and discoverers of every age, have the courage to try again. because consistency keeps them in touch with their inner power. Viktor Frankl was right. When you know your why, you can endure anyhow. And perhaps the most important how of all is the how of showing up every day and taking the necessary action, whatever they may be, to fulfill raison d'etre. To live is to struggle, and reality, especially good reality, is often dreadful, even though humans are much magnified by the courage to carry on, like Camus's titular character in the myth of Sisyphus, ceaselessly pushing the boulder up the mountain. An anonymous wit summarized the importance of habits with this simple but memorable phrase: "First we form habits, then they form us." Psychologists and neuroscientists will tell you that it's a lot easier to sustain an existing pattern than to create new habits and thought patterns from scratch. Next time you're working hard to create a new habit, like exercising 4 times a week or biting your tongue before snapping at a coworker, don't throw away your hard work once the desired pattern becomes a habit. Keep the fire burning even long after the spark has traveled down the paper and disappeared. Consistency matters most when you feel like quitting. Make it easy to be consistent. To be consistent, make things as easy as possible for yourself. This may include setting up reminders, removing clutter from your environment, or finding an accountability partner. It may also involve creating rituals for particular tasks. These rituals will help to take your mind off the task. For example, if sitting in front of a blank screen is daunting, then aim to type a sentence per hour. The short sprints relieve the psychological pressure on the task, and a pile of small sprints quickly adds up to a substantial accomplishment. You can also tie something pleasurable to the task. This is the exact kind of formula that works for graduate students and writers with deadline pressures. They check into a hotel with no TV, treat themselves to fancy coffees, or respond to articles during their favorite TV shows. Such tactics can be critical when we're feeling tired, emotionally drained, or otherwise uninspired. You've set out to accomplish something that is important to you. How can you ensure that you are consistent? The best way to maintain consistency of effort over time is to remember the story of the tortoise and the hare, where the eager hare was bounding ahead and then resting and bounding and resting until the more steady turtle managed to cross the finish line first. In the story, the turtle demonstrated a commitment to plowing ahead, regardless of fatigue or bewilderment, and the hare showed that dropping out due to exhaustion was the easiest thing in the world. The easy thing doesn't always get results, and the hard thing is not always a waste of time. By showing up each day, you are adopting the mentality of the turtle. The trick is in finding a pace that affords you rest, but also allows you to maintain or increase speed over time. As actor William H. Macy advised an aspiring actor, "When people ask what they can do to be more successful as actors, I say, show up." But not only can you get more motivated to celebrate your non-usual wins with personal consistency, but you've become supercharged because you actively celebrate them and really love the feeling you've got. The celebration has absolutely positive effects on your emotions. And even less winning, just being a good guy who doesn't do the usual stupid things, can make it easy to celebrate on the way. Even in the morning after the day, keeping track of what you've achieved and how many important jobs you've done can make you feel good right from the start. Recognizing and celebrating your successes will definitely help you build your way to creating a habit of personal consistency and perseverance. Celebrating the milestones and successes in your personal accountability arsenal is huge. I often say that success can bring greater success. Ergo, success breeds more success. As you see positive movement and changes taking place in your life and habits, and the wonderful things that come from consistent intention, like exercise successes, good sleep, reflection, relaxation, or focusing periods, you will be motivated to see more opportunities or not to take breaks, to serve every part of your life theory in this way, consciously. Therefore, it has been revealed that we have made progress. Conclusion. The characteristics of winners as analyzed in this essay are straightforward and simple, yet profound and transformative. We often see success in terms of the most visibly successful amongst us. Of course, success here can have innumerable permutations, as each of us will define success as it pertains to our individual lives. The fact remains that being consistent in who you are, knowing how to combine this with hard work, practice, and application, and adding the willingness to learn, change, and commit, is the core of what it takes to remain relevant and make a difference. Never forget that learning results from the backward plan of knowing and learning how best to apply this knowledge, irrespective of the situation and challenges around us. City and country leaders across the globe recognized their competitive advantages in understanding what innovation was going to look like in the future. Training and education topped the list. Obviously, the report results were focused on technical education and skills training. We need a more comprehensive approach. It is time to stop being blinded by the outdated view of intelligence. The sequel to grit is, of course, self-discipline. Character strengths are at the heart of how to learn. This self-discipline relates to the most critical characteristics of all great learners: time and practice. If you found this content enriching and valuable, we would be deeply grateful if you could express your appreciation through liking and subscribing. Your support is incredibly meaningful and enables us to continue creating content that resonates with you. For those who think this is a great gift for yourself or for your loved ones, you can find the link in the description.